was that commercial break.
Karen does show up too.
I would always think about someone like Jane Roberts, who would channel the Sense Material, or Edgar Casey, who would channel, I don't know whom. And I would always think that I'm so glad that I don't have to be not present when I do this, but at least you guys got firsthand witness to the fact that I am present, even if I am also the conduit. Trust me, your guides don't really care what colors you're wearing, unless I care, which I do. All right, so back to the topic. You guys, now I just put some pressure on you. When we come back for 2016, I'm going to see like quite the rainbow in this room. And there seems to be a theme too.
I know.
Yeah. Right? I don't know if you have to stand where I'm standing to see this, but thanks to those selected individuals who got my memo about what I would be wearing today, supporting me through the vibration of our color. I really appreciate that. And I'm sorry about those that didn't get the memo, but you guys keep up the progress and get a little more enlightened. You'll get the memo next year. Anyway, so the good news is that even if there seems as though there's a lot of chaos going on outside of us, always keep it in perspective and always see that the souls on earth, who are all a part of our experience of getting collectively to better and better places, those souls in human form that are part of an experience of terrorism or hatred, when they return home, they don't have any feeling of regret that they were a participant in what went on. They have knowledge, they have comprehension of how their human self became a part of what transpired. So if you think about like the first 12 that lost their lives in Paris, when they're souls and they're not connected to their human body anymore, they're not saying, darn it, this is horrible. I can't believe I don't have my body anymore and I'm not on earth. This is just terrible. This is the worst day ever. They're actually not thinking like that. They're pretty much thinking the opposite of that. They're thinking that, look at what I was able to contribute. Our opus is our ending. What can I do in my last moments that are going to put ripples into the water of humanity that extend beyond the reach that I had as a person when I was there? And not only do I affect the immediate circle of people that love me or knew me, but then there's the satellite group who knew of me. But when it's an incident like Paris, then it's the globe that gets to share in the ripple of what you participated in. So there's a feeling of, wow, I did something that extended beyond the reach of what my earthly life may have contributed. It's not that they're joyful that that's the way that they exited, or it's not that they're necessarily joyful that they're not earth beings, but in the state of comprehension that we have when we return home, there's no need for regret. There's only comprehension and love. For so many years, I have been talking about how when you are looking at your challenges and you're in the process of trying to figure out how to sort out your challenges, the way that you can help to manage it and even to start to, I do this all the time, right? The way that you can start to dissolve the challenge is to find what benefits were in that challenge. Challenges don't happen randomly. They don't happen for no reason. They happen because there's an opportunity for benefit for the person that's experiencing the challenge, for all of the people experiencing the challenge. So the challenge might be what you're facing on Earth. But when you return home, if there was any benefit left on the Earth that you hadn't perceived while you were in physical form, you're going to understand it fully when you go back home. So the benefits of being engaged in an incident such as Paris is that you have this full comprehension of all of the benefits possible from what you experience. And your focus will be, what can I do now as a soul without a human body? What can I do to take my participation in my last moment and make the benefit grow and grow and grow and grow and grow on Earth? And that's not an ending job. That's going to be something that you want to do, you want to experience, you want to see what you can get other people to notice or appreciate or find value in an experience like that. The energy is not finite. It just continues and continues and continues. So that's something to focus on. Another thing to focus on in the global arena, when we're talking about us collectively becoming more enlightened, is the fact that in the global arena, I forgot what I was about to say. Let's go to the next topic. Hopefully they'll come through in a minute, okay? Oh, you know what? I can have a sip of water. Maybe that was the reason. Good. Anyone know what I was going to say? No? Okay. Well, it'll amp up again. Ramp up? Boot up. It'll boot up. It'll boot up again. All right. So the basic premise here of what it is that you guys are wanting you to know is not to get too dragged down by the incidents that happen around you. Okay? Not to get dragged down by the big stuff that's in the news. And also recognize, I know what it was. I built the circle. And also recognize that when you are aware of what's happening in the world, and it isn't bringing you a feeling of joy, you don't have to put all your energy into focusing on it, okay? You can turn it off. Turn it off. Don't watch it. Don't read about it. Don't submerge yourself in the details. The way that I look at this is if your energy decreases, you're adding to the decreased energy that the incident caused to begin with. You don't have to feel pain to be a good person. It's okay to have a moment of grief or pause or appreciation for everything or people, but don't stay in the state. Find something else to look at about it. Find something positive. At least tell yourself there's something enfolded in here that's going to be of great benefit, even if I, at this moment, don't know what that benefit is. So don't saturate yourself in it. It's not necessary. Your energy is a part of the collective energy. So whatever energy you take when you're looking at news or happenings, then that becomes a part of the collective as well. You know, there's one exception, you know, the whole thing with the Tom Brady and the balls and the deflating. You know, I say pay attention to it, you know, put your hot-headed energy into it, have an opinion, get everybody all riled up. But besides that, the other big news, please don't give it a lot of energy. But the other part to focus on is when you see something like the aftermath of what happened in Paris, the way people came together, the way people had, even if they didn't fly into France for the vigils or for the walks, they were doing things privately. There were so many groups having private meditation moments. There were people putting it up on Facebook that were going to have moments of peace in our heart that we're sending to the region and sending to, you know, clear hatred in the world. So what was fascinating here is how different the response is in comparison to the energy of the incident. Think back to the Vietnam War, which is probably one of the first times that our generation can recall a response to an incident where we said, you know what, we're not going to take this, and there was a big pushback. That pushback was one of the first big pushbacks that we've experienced. Usually it's go along, go along, go along. Whether it's that you're believing the propaganda or you just don't know any way of thinking because it's generational that you just go along. that was the first time people stood up and said, this doesn't make any sense. I don't like this. We're not going to participate. We're going to do whatever we can to unsettle the direction that the United States has taken in the war. So when you look at the way people came out in the 1960s against the war, they came out not with joy and love, even though love and peace were the mantras of the period, but they came out in protest. Stop the war, fight the war, stop the war. There were tons of incidents of violence against our participation in the war. So here, if you look at the way we are protesting, if we're protesting what happened in Paris, we're not feeling violent. We're not attacking. We're coming together and saying that this did happen, but let's come together. Let's come together. We don't want to fuel a negative energy that already exists. So when you feel caught up in paying attention to details of something that's going on in the news that you find really unpleasant, then think about what good might have come of it, or think about what you already know that's good, that did come of it. The minute you shift your thoughts and what you focus on is the minute you contribute to the beneficial energy that can evolve from the incident to begin with. You become a part of the evolution of humanity instead of keeping it where it is. And that's a privilege that we have to do. That's a privilege that we get to even choose our thoughts and our energy. I know a lot of people here have, worked with me for many, many, many years, but some are newer. But in the early years, when I would do this, there were two particular tools I used very frequently. One was I would use a pendulum to help people understand the effect that their energy has on them. And the other thing that I used was energy sticks. I don't know if I have an open set here.
There's nothing open, but...
Okay. The energy sticks and the pendulum started to help people to become conscious of the fact that we really do have an energy that we emit. So much of what we talk about here seems theoretical, but when you have a way to see something with your own hands and your own eyes and experience it for yourself, it brings it home. It almost feels like there's some science behind what we talk about. And you understand that it's not philosophical, that it's real. But the energy sticks in particular, there's one thing about the pendulum first that I discovered that made such a big difference in my life. When we would hold pendulums, most people are familiar with holding a pendulum now.
You could actually use your necklace if you wanted to.
Oh, hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. Thank you. And I didn't know what necklace to wear today. Okay, so what I would do is we would hold them from a string, and you would kind of like speak to the pendulum until the point that you could push it away from your body, push it side to side, make it go in circles. And when you started to see how your energy was affecting the pendulum and you became very familiar that there was a connection, then you could start to use the pendulum to ask questions, help with decisions, understand that you could connect with your guides directly, maybe not as directly as I do, but a little bit more directly. And for me, once again, because I need the science behind all of this, I took the pendulum off and I hung it on a cabinet door in the kitchen, no windows open, nobody home, and I still found that I could move the pendulum, but I had eliminated that doubt in my mind that said, oh, there's a little bit of me that wants to do this and I'm doing something even if I don't see my fingers moving. I found that when I used the kitchen cabinet method, I had to get very, very, very close into the pendulum, But I could, once I got it in close, I would be able to move the pendulum in the exact same way that I was when I was only holding it with my hand. Now, that proved to me that energy was what was affecting the movement, and that my energy was measurable in some regard. But then with the energy sticks, this is when, for me, it got very interesting. And I will open one. Here's where it got very interesting for me, because I got to witness first, I want to go back one more thing on the pendulums. What I also got to do, beyond the experiment with the kitchen cabinet knob, I have the ability now to, and some of you have seen me do this, but I can hold a pendulum in front of me, the little lightweight ones that I used to use and give out all the time, very lightweight plastic. I can hold a pendulum and hold it close to me, and I can actually defy gravity with my energy. So the energy from my body pushes the pendulum away. I'm not going to say it pushes it away 45 degrees or anything like that, but it pushes it away enough that you can see it clearly with the naked eye. And just about everyone that has been able to watch me do it can see it push away. So that's amazing. The energy of my body is defying gravity. And I witnessed that the more I was peeling off the masks and layers of my own stuff, the more the pendulum would push out. So I got the link that the more I became clear, the more I got back to being the soul that I was born as, and got rid of my human encumbrances, the more powerful my energy was affecting things. So that's a very, very exciting observation. The energy sticks, though, on the other hand, this I don't like to demonstrate them in the negative anymore, but I used these in the first 2 years I was communicating with guides. One of those years, I think I used these half a dozen times a day at least, because this helps to retrain my focus of what it is that I choose to look at or think about. And what you do is you hold them, parallel to each other or parallel to the floor, and you focus on something, whether it's a positive feeling or a negative feeling, but you focus on what it is you're experiencing at the moment. And what will happen is, if you're really focusing on it, the energy sticks will respond, and they'll open when you're emitting positive energy, and they will close and cross when you're feeling something way below the line. If you're feeling frustrated or furious or angry or disappointed or jealous, the energy sticks come into you. And once again, because my mind works more from the analytical side rather than the theoretical, airy-fairy, I had to do this so much so that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were measuring not just the fact that I'm emitting energy, but they're measuring the kind of energy I'm emitting. So that was a breakthrough for me, that the energy that I'm putting out there does matter. It's not just a thought, it's a thought that carries a vibration into our world. And as an individual, that vibration that I'm putting out there, that becomes the magnetic energy for what I bring back in. So it was an experience where it just kept helping over and over and over again for the quality of my day-to-day life to improve. Because I was using the sticks to release that non-stop circular negative thinking and replacing it with a positive focus. And I was also using the sticks to help me become very aware of how things were making me feel. And also using the sticks to find out how can I replace the negative vibration that I'm putting out there with a positive vibration. It's so easy. We're very habitual. And that's okay, as long as the habit's a good one. But if it's not helping you, it's not so good. But it's so fascinating how negative thinking is habitual. And to break the habit, it's important that you focus on it almost to the same extent that you would if you were trying to learn any skill. music or athletics or anything. You have to give it focus and you have to give it practice. So those sticks were my way of practicing to release the circle or the cycle of negative thinking that I was accustomed to. And the result was pretty fast. You know, those who have known me since that time, they can witness that I became happier and happier and happier relatively quickly. But it didn't happen to me, it happened with me. Communicating with guys was one half of the equation. The other half of the equation for me was that I participated, I did the work, I focused on it. I didn't expect anything to happen at me. I knew that if I weren't in it, it was just going to be another idea. It was just going to be another thought, another book that you read and you put on your nightstand and you never take the content and apply it into your life. So it was a partnership. But how rapidly I moved from being a relatively unhappy person, or one that felt that I didn't have any control over my journey, or one that experienced a lot of chaos, into being one that's much happier, and I anticipate that that happiness will continue to grow. It happened relatively quickly because of my focus and communicating with the universe, guides, non-physical sources of information. So that brings me to one of the primary themes of the day. Wow, they got me here. One of the primary themes of the day, I'll erase this. This is a year for 2015. 2015 is a year where this is going to matter more than any other year to date. Does anyone know what I'm going to write?
Soul.
Right. Soul. Internal. Number one theme of 2015. Number one theme of the year. Live as though you know you are eternal. You know, we've danced upon this topic in essays and in the Enlightenment Power groups. You know, it's come up, it's popped up. But this is it. This is the year. This is the year that you want to really begin to live as though you know you are eternal. I've been living like this a long time. And what it helps with is that it lets you act through the lens of love. It helps you to see things as though they matter. So when you're making decisions about how to interact with people, how to manage a circumstance in your life, or when you're even deciding, you know, how you might take care of the planet in the moment, or an animal, or how you might perceive anything about nature. If you're training yourself to understand that we are eternal, the way you look at reality just shifts. I do my best to have my experiences on Earth leave people better than when I found them. At a minimum, to leave them how I found them, but never to leave them worse than I found them. And I do the same with the planet. I do my very best to leave the planet better than when I walk in that moment, the best I can. And I'm conscious of it, and I'm conscious of it, and I'm conscious of it. So I make my choices through that vibration. I make my choices to know that this is a visit. It's a really, really important visit to Earth. It's a visit that I love, but it's a temporary visit here. So what matters is what it is I do while I am here. It's not insignificant by any means. And if there's a lot of people on Earth that haven't gotten to the level of awareness yet where they respect the planet, they respect others, they respect in general. So then I feel like, you know what, I gotta do a little bit more to be respectful. Because the more energy that I can put in there, adding to the mix, and a positive energy where you're focusing on something that's coming from the vibration of love obliterates a vibration that's acting in the absence of love. So one person that's focusing with love can eclipse multiple people who are tossing litter out the window or who are feeling hate for one another. It is that positive. That's why it's called positive vibrational energy. In the model that I use all the time, when I'm showing what it's like to move from being in the absence of the vibration of love to vibrating at the vibration of love, I'm only showing it with small circles at the bottom, and the circles get bigger and bigger and bigger as you move closer to being happy and living as a soul. And the reason the circles are shown increasing all the time is because your vibrational energy is increasing. It's like going from a smaller star to a larger star. You're amassing more radiant energy. So when you're moving up above the line and you're focusing on living as though you know you are eternal, then your contribution to your energy will eclipse the energy of those who are not living above the line. And you can see this process happening. You can see it on Earth when you recognize how fewer people are living in isolation and disconnected from the world and acting egregiously in isolation. The pockets of isolation where communities are cut off from experiencing the rest of the world have become so few. It's showing that we are eclipsing more and more those lower vibrational energies because we're sharing, we're knowing, we're becoming more conscious of how people are perceiving us. And interestingly, being conscious of how people perceive us might not be living to the vibration of love as far as being one who is sharing this planet with each other, but it's a first step. It's a first step. If you become conscious of how people perceive you, and that's your motivation for living more as though you are eternal, then you begin to have your behavior change, and then your thoughts and feelings and beliefs can follow. I know I have to explain that again. If a great example would be some of the corporate incidents we see, like let's go back a decade plus. Enron. When you see these incidents of a lot of people getting very, very, very rich and dishonoring whom they're serving or whom is even serving them, and then everything implodes and they lose everything, they go to jail. If they had known they were going to be caught, do you think they would have acted to the magnitude that they acted? They would not have been able to work from such a low operational vibration if they thought they were going to get caught. So if they were perceiving the opinions of others and were living as though they might get caught, their behavior changed even if their belief system or their feelings didn't change. So who they are might still be very, very far below the line. They may still be greedy. They may not care for their fellow people. They may not feel respect. They might not feel as though they are eternal or that their imprint here has an effect. But if they change their behavior because they're afraid of getting caught, they're afraid of the perception of others, it's a step. Because when you start to change your behavior, the feelings and the encouragement that come from an improved behavior start to become a replacement for the way that you used to feel. So imagine I did something horrid 6 days in a row. And 6 days in a row, hey, hey, whatever would make me do something horrid 6 days in a row means, I have a lot of masks and layers. I don't have a very high level of awareness. I'm not fully conscious even of what impact this horrid thing might have. But there's a little tiny part of me that carries every day. Oh, I hope I didn't get caught. Oh, that didn't feel good. It might be so low beneath the surface that I'm barely conscious or aware of this thing that's kind of irking me. So now, on the next day, I don't do this horrid thing. And when I put my head on the pillow that night, I feel a sense of peace. And I'm like, wow, today was a good day. What if I become aware that today was a good day because I didn't do that terrible thing that I had just done every other day? And I make the connection. So my behavior changed. So over time, my feelings and my beliefs catch up to the new behavior. So I'm not saying that people in this room are incapable of living as though you're eternal just because you attend this seminar today. You are capable of it. But maybe there's going to be some areas where it's a little bit harder. Maybe there's going to be some areas that just starting to recall that you can change your behavior first and then change your feelings and your beliefs will make it a little bit easier for you to get from wherever you are to where you want to go. I think I've only told this story once, so I won't be making you sit through it again, but I apologize to those who have sat through it before, but it's a great demonstration of how this process worked for me. I started to live as though I am eternal, and one of the things that I became very clear about is I really don't litter. I really do try to keep my space as good as I found it, even a little bit of conscious of, like, I try not to waste the way other people might waste or consume. I'm conscious of the products that I buy and so on. And so when I was a little bit younger, a lot younger, I wouldn't hesitate. I used to smoke. I wouldn't hesitate. I mean, this is horrid. Here's one of my horrid things. But I would pull up to a traffic light, and if it was one of those really annoying lights that you're like, well, if they only made this less than 4 minutes, maybe so much of us wouldn't run through it. So I would sit at the light and know I was going to be there for 4 minutes. And in kind of like retribution for the idiots that made this light 4 minutes for me, I would open up my car door. This is a true story. This is humiliating. And I would take my cigarette thing out, and I would dump it.
You're one of those.
Isn't that horrible? I can't even believe I'm admitting it. Wow, and this is just one lifetime. One lifetime. And I think back at it, and there was some kind of weird satisfaction that if they're going to make this light so damn long, hey, what goes on? You know? I don't do that anymore. Number one, I don't smoke. And even if I did smoke, I really wouldn't be drastic. And now I'm like the worst. Like when there's crime and there's stuff. But when somebody throws something out the window on the Long Island Expressway, I'm like, I remember when I took some kind of law class back in college, like Law 101, there's something called a citizen's arrest. And then I'm like, I think it has to be a minimum of a misdemeanor. I don't think you can do it on and I'm like, crap, I can't pull this guy over, can I? And I'm like, is it a felony only? Does anybody know? Come on, there's lots of attorneys in my life. Anyone know? Is it a felony or is it a misdemeanor? So I don't think I can pull people over for throwing like a cigarette out the window. But man, they can do so much else on the highway, and I could care less. So that's become my little bit of a thing. Because I get why they're doing the rest. But the point is that I didn't change. I didn't start to care about the planet. And those who have seen me speak before, they know that, like, because I don't drink water as often as I should. I chew like a 16th of a piece of gum, right? And it keeps me hydrated, or so I think. And so, like, I always make sure that I find some way to get rid of the gum, because when I'm done speaking, I really don't want that 1/16 of a piece of gum in my mouth anymore. It's really annoying and old, right? So I always find, some way to dispose it. I won't even put it in a garbage pail that doesn't have a liner, because I don't want it to stick. I'm very respectful of everybody with the disposal of this 1/16 of a piece of gum. And So one day, I was here, actually, and we did a seminar at night. The cleaning service had already come. Every garbage pail was empty. I had nothing. I had no tissues. I had no scrap paper. I had nothing. Everybody had left. I have to get rid of this gum now. Oh, it's driving me mad. So I had to get rid of the piece of gum, and I had nothing. I had nowhere to put it. So now I'm like out in my car. It's snowing. There's snow all over the ground. I'm scraping the window. The gum is annoying the heck out of me. And I'm like, what do I do? So I took I scurried through the snow a little bit, and I found a leaf. And I took the leaf and I put my gum in the leaf, and then I crumbled it up, wrapped up, and I put it in my pocket because I now can't throw the leaf out because it's gum and it doesn't decay, right? So I put it in my pocket. Okay? So I got to tell you, that night when I put my head on the pillow, I felt pretty peaceful. I don't know if I revisited the leaf and the gum, but I felt very, very peaceful. And so I didn't feel, well, actually, I did still feel peaceful, but one day, a week later, when I took my pants out of the dryer, totally ruined. Like how 1/16 of a piece of gum could ruin a pair of pants like that, I have no idea. But it was definitely, don't put gum in the dryer. Don't put it in the dryer. But, you know, I could have gotten mad. The pants had fit me nicely, right? I could have gotten mad that, oh, I'm such an idiot. I have to tell you, when I took them out and I saw the damage, I actually felt really good. I felt like to have the universe give me validation of how good it feels to be respectful of the environment and my own imprint that I make here. I thought it felt good. It felt good for me, and I didn't get annoyed. So that's maybe going to a little bit of an extreme and living as though you. Oh, I could have swallowed it. I come here for good ideas. I could have swallowed that one then too, huh? So, I didn't think to swallow it. I could have eaten the snow and swallowed it with the snow, right? It works. Anyone else have any good ideas they want to share? Make my life a little bit easier. You know, jump in. Okay. Note yourself. Could have swallowed it. Swallow it. So the point is, you know, it's easy to look at litter. It's easy to look at waste as a way that we can understand that we are eternal. Because it's visible, and it takes action in order to preserve the earth, and it takes action in order to abuse the earth. Action is a little bit more easy to pay attention to than inaction, things that you're doing with your thoughts and your energy. But living as though you are eternal is not limited to respecting the earth. But if you pay attention to how you respect the earth, it makes you more conscious of how you're treating other things, like people and their ideas and their thoughts and their stuff. Again, because the action part of it might be with the physical part of it, like what you're actually doing with the earth. The absence of something physical to see can make it a little bit more difficult to be conscious. But, you know, what's so funny? No matter how many masks and layers you have, no matter what degree of kindness you use with other people, the point is not about a judgment about how kind you are. Every time you are unkind, there's a part of you in your gut that knows it. You might justify it, you might rationalize it, you might celebrate it because you think you did good, but it's not true. If you are unkind, you know it. You know it. You can blame somebody, you can blame anything, you can blame something outside of yourself. And interestingly, the more you are unkind and find a way to justify it or blame somebody or something else, the more it becomes a habit and the less connection you will have to the gut feeling that what I just did didn't feel good. And that's how it starts. But for you to finish it and undo it means you have to be conscious. You have to be conscious. You know, sometimes the universe will provide a way for you to become conscious very, very quickly. Like you might be walking away with indignance and self-righteousness, but then you get a glimpse of somebody's face, and you see that look of defeat or sadness. Or you might be doing something else, and they pop into your head, and you think, how is the story going to sound when they tell their husband or their child, right? How are they going to feel next time they're with you? So you might have a way for the universe to help you become aware of whether or not you were acting in kindness. But you don't always. Some of the stuff you don't know. You don't get feedback. You're not aware that you could have made a different choice. I have an expression that I've used for years around the house. And the expression is, everyone in the family knows it, but there's a very important third word that goes to this mighty sentence. Be kind first. So I'm not saying, never ever act in a way that you're showing strength or disappointment or anger, but always be kind first. That's how the energy starts to flow, and that's where your participation in it is at the greatest. And that's where you're going to get the gut feeling about whether or not what you did was connected to the vibration of love or not. Self-love is just as important, if not more important, than your respect for other people. So being kind first is respecting you. But if someone is very unkind to you first, your self-love can come in, and your self-love can protect yourself or straighten things out or make somebody more aware. So it's okay to come back after a really unkind incident and to stand up for yourself. But what I would say is when you are standing up for yourself and you are honoring yourself and you are respecting yourself and you are growing your self-love, do so as kindly as you possibly can. You still have a choice. You still have a choice. What I'm amazed at is knowing and executing that choice, how many times the level of what somebody might do to me, how often I come back with that same level of below the line energy. For me, it never happens. It doesn't happen at all. In the beginning, it was a little bit tougher. I would feel this was unfair. I would feel they didn't understand me. I would feel that I was judged. I would feel that I was right. I would feel all of these things that are very human and very, very normal. And the response to that feeling of being misunderstood or not heard or not appreciated might make you respond or react with a reaction that comes from below the line. So it's human to do it, but what you do next is still your choice. If I were angered by something somebody did, I could respond with anger immediately. And then how much of a resolution would we have if we've got two angry people at each other? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing can be resolved. But what if I came back and said, I don't like the way this is making me feel. And the other person still came back. So then you just exit. Find a way to get out of there. Clear your head and know that there's nothing you can do in this moment to help that other person to defuse, and there's nothing that you can do to make a meaningful advance in the progress of this interaction. So exit. If you've tried to be kind in return, then exit. And then, when there are no tensions and everybody's back to feeling comfortable, then you can kindly readdress it when someone's in a space where they can hear it. If someone is angry or mad or furious or raging or jealous or whatever, they're coming from a fired up left brain. And that fired up left brain is not going to let the right brain, which is the one that will allow cooperation and communication to affect them. You can't fire it up. It's already in the dark. Wait until there's a hint of it being open again, and there's a possibility of having a real conversation. And it doesn't matter who this is with. It could be a boss, an employee, a daughter, a mother. It could be anybody. But revisit it or allow your first reaction to be one that comes from the kindest space that it can come from. And when you practice that, again, thoughts and beliefs and energy follow behavior. When you keep doing this, the greatest reward comes to you because your self-love grows, your vibrational energy grows, your feeling about yourself grows, your peacefulness grows. Every benefit of it comes back to you. If the other participant gains any benefit, that's on them. That's not your responsibility. You're not here to change how other people are interacting or perceiving things. Unless they have any curiosity, they're probably not going to pay any attention to it anyway. They have to be engaged. They have to have an intention of shifting. They have to have an intention of changing a circumstance. But if they don't, it's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is how will you participate in this? How will you participate in this moment? And how will you participate in this relationship if it's a type of moment that is repeating itself over and over again? Will you participate in this relationship if it's a kind of incident that's repeating itself over and over and over again? That's where you begin to see that living as though you know you are eternal matters in everything that you focus on. Everything. Because the bottom line of why you're caring about your kindness factor is that you are respecting yourself and respecting others. Not always easy. It's not always easy to do. But I can tell you that my numbers of interactions with people that are unpleasant now has, I can't even, I don't even know how low it is. It's just almost non-existent. But I used to have a lot of contentious relationships with people, but mostly people that were not in my immediate circle because I had to work out my anger issues with people that weren't going to be in my day-to-day life. So I bring in an annoying AT&T rep, or I bring in a guy that digs my car. I bring those in so I can get rid of the rage. But now I really don't bring any of those in anymore, so I don't even have to say, how am I choosing my reaction to this particular incident? It's so rare. I mean, honestly, if I lose my kindness first factor, it might happen 2 times a year, 3 times a year, nothing. And when I do, I will settle down and I will reconnect with anyone that I was unkind to and explain, not because I want them to forgive me, but I want them to comprehend why I behaved the way that I did and apologize. And not so I can repeat it again, but because I really, truly wasn't happy with the way I participated in that interaction. Because it bothered me. It bothered me that I did that. And I don't want to take that with me. I can't take it back. I can't put it back in its box. But the best I could do at that moment is to apologize and to have somebody else understand that I know I was unkind and it was not my intention. It's a lot to think about now. One thing I'll tell you, to let you off the hook here for a moment, on my way here, I got the feeling from guides that the stuff that they told you this year was going to be incredibly complex. So I don't see this year as being one of those years where it's like, clean out your drawer, you're making space for good stuff to happen, This is a different kind of year. This is a different kind of year. Go back and revisit 2012, 2013, and 2014. Because every single thing they said in those seminars about suggestions of how to prepare you for this year, every one of them is still valid. And if you haven't done one of those in particular, it's not too late. They're all still valid. But this year is that you have done those things from the last 3 years. You have done them. Maybe you did them 10%, 20%, 80%, whatever. You can keep doing them a little bit more, amp them up, try to get them as far along as you can get them up. If you cleaned out drawers and empty stuff and got rid of stuff that's a burden for you to keep or carry or own, maybe you got rid of 75% of it. So this year, go at it one more time. Get rid of another 10%. Get rid of another 10% beyond that. As far as people, someone's not working in your life and you've been working on it, you've been doing everything you possibly can to make a difficult relationship better, this is a year to say, why am I keeping this relationship in my life? Is what it is I believe I am gaining worth the sacrifice of what it is that I'm giving? It's your choice. But all of those are issues that we talked about a lot in 2012, 2013, and 2014. This year is a little bit different. This is almost like, you know what, guys? We've had rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal, and this is opening night. No more playing around with the stuff that you didn't do yet. Go and do it. If you want to be happy and you want to contribute to the world in the way that we are heading in that direction, you got to do it. Don't think about it anymore. Do it. Get it done. So, is this easy? Be kind first. Don't throw your 16 to the seat that's gone out the window. It's not easy. It's not easy. But if it matters to you that you make an imprint in being here and that this earth life of yours, no matter how many days or no matter how many years long it is, if that matters to you, then this will be the lens that you choose to look at the world through in 2015 in every way that you can. And don't think you have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. I had a conversation through email with someone that, I will pick it up, I promise. I had a conversation this week with someone through business that it was difficult. It was a difficult conversation for her, and I was trying to think of ways that I could make her feel better because I knew she was feeling really, really crummy. And so I normally sign my signature line as like happiness. I'm a Karen, that's my tag thing. But I said, I have to do something. I don't know what it is. My word's in here. I don't know if she's going to take them in. And I wasn't too loud because it's business. It wasn't like, a friend or something. So when I was writing my tagline, I wrote, I'm not perfect and never will be, Karen. And I figured, you know what, she would really get what I was saying there. And I did get a kind of, this was business again, people read business emails, right? But I did get a little bit of a response, a cryptic response from her that I knew she did take it in. It was just like, forgive yourself. You're not perfect. I am not perfect. And none of us ever will be. So don't put the bar so high for yourself that you can't live with yourself and love you for who you are. These suggestions are not made to make you feel badly about yourself or where you live. They're there to guide you to be the best that you can be. They're there to give you motivation and suggestions about how your place on this planet can leave everybody and everything better than it was before. I can't undo all of the cigarette butts that I put around, mostly Suffolk County people. Marlboro Light. If you ever see like a big batch of Marlboro Light and stuff, call me up. I'll come with a shovel. I'll sweep it up. I'll do the best I can. I can't undo those butts. But I can undo all of the buts that I put out there from this point on. I can be responsible for wanting to see the world and people and myself through the eyes of respect. I can do that. And I am doing my personal best to leave this space on Earth in this decade and however many years it is that I live better than I found it to the best of my ability. Might be a lot of things. You might come and say, do you realize, well, I do use my bottles over and over and over again to the point of embarrassment. But you might be thinking, like, why would I even drink and not bring my own container? I'm doing the best I can. After shoveling, the last thing I did was fill my water bottle and bring it. So I did take a fresh bottle, but I will use the heck out of that, and then I will recycle it. I'm doing the best to my ability. And that's all your guides are going to ask of you, is for you to do the best of your ability and understand that in the eternal nature of the way that we travel, it does matter. It does matter.
It's 2:15.
Okay. I'm going to leave you with one more thought about how it matters, and then we'll take a little bit of a break, and we'll enjoy some music from Derek, and we'll mingle and get to know each other, and drink water, but then keep the bottle for life. I just want to point out one more thing. We talked about, I don't remember if it was last year or 2013 in the seminar, there was a lot of conversation about the polarization that we would experience on Earth. A lot more people that were living above the line, and a lot more people that were living grossly below the line. So there's a huge polarization. All right, I think whatever year Sandy was in, I think it was that year, because I remember Sandy almost modeled it. So when you're looking at that polarization of how people live, you really get to witness, and I'm not a political kind of person, but I do have to put real life examples out there so you can see things being modeled. But a really good example of that polarization would be our current Congress and Senate. Polarization is so tremendous to the point that it's caused complete inertia, all right? But I want to explain to you why it's the way that it is and what benefit it has to us for being the way that it is, okay? If a person is coming from a place of ego, it means that they have low self-esteem. If they're coming across as arrogant and their ideas are the only ones that matter, and they're forcing those ideas on other people without cooperation and conversation, it means that they have very low self-esteem. They will oftentimes enter into positions of power to help compensate for the massive hole in their self-love. And when they're given power, one of the ways that they put a Band-Aid on their lack of self-love is by getting other people to agree with them. If you agree with my ideas, I am a worthy person. If you don't agree with my ideas, that means that there's something wrong with me. So with every action I can find below the line, I am going to either force or compel or intimidate or hate you until you agree with my platform. Because when you agree with the way I look at things, then I am worthy. And I feel better because my family or my community or whatever really screwed me up when I was a kid. That's the bottom line. So when you watch politics and the way that it's unfolding right now, it's all coming from a lot of people who have really low self-esteem. They don't love themselves enough to have somebody else disagree with their platform on anything, on guns or abortions or war or economics or education. If you're not on board with what I say is best for everybody, then that means I'm not lovable and I'm not worthy. Therefore, I have to respond by hating you, or not working with you, or not cooperating with you, or not being friends with you. And that's why it's as bad as it is, so we can understand, as we're becoming more soulful, we can see what happens when you don't live as though you know you are eternal. We get to witness in politics right now, that's what happens when you don't live as though you are eternal. Their mindset, and it's not all politicians, I'm just making a bigger, broader statement, but their mindset is not, how can I leave this earth and this planet and my space and my family better than I found it? Their platform is not, after I die, does what I'm doing now matter in 100 years, in 1,000 years? They're not living as though I care about what happens after the next election. So living like you are eternal means living like you are eternal. And the way to live it is to respect. Respect each other, respect the planet, respect yourself, respect other people's ideas. You can disagree, you can come into a conversation of disagreement with kindness, but put yourself out there first to treat all people as though they matter, even if they have differing opinions than you. And now, if we were to think, like let's say 100 years from now, I hope it's sooner, imagine every politician lived as though they were eternal.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of fuel would we be using? What kind of food would we be eating? What kind of waste would we have? What kind of individual support and collective support would we have for people to make the best lives for themselves possible? What would the world be like if politicians all lived as though we are eternal? If you think back to some of the great leaders and strides that they made, those are leaders that lived as though they were eternal. Maybe they didn't put it into language like this. Maybe they didn't come right out and say, I'm living like a soul and not like a human. Opt out if you don't want to be here. But that's how they did live. That is how they did live. And not only individual leaders, but sometimes in a rare case there'll be a collection of leaders that live as though they're eternal. And they leave some body of work that's so much higher than the level of awareness that humanity might be in that moment, that it becomes a possibility for the future. And an example of that would be our founding fathers. The way they were able to take their consciousness beyond anything that they had ever seen in their lives or ever heard about from their own relatives and create something, a new possibility. What they created was something so much closer to the vibration of love than any other political system that we've ever seen. Political system, I'm not saying society. Political system. So they exist. It just so happened that we had a lot of them together in the same place. And maybe they argued, and maybe they disagreed, but together they came together as a unit with a very, very high level of awareness, high vibration document that we still regard in principle as having an example of a great place to be and a great place to live. That's how we would live if our politicians today still lived as though they were eternal.
Isn't there one thing that is the root to all of this that we need to start to recognize? That we've elected officials, a few hundred. That's all there really is between Senate and Congress. We've elected only a few hundred to make their perception of they need to make the decisions for us. And we are giving up our freedoms.
Well, that's what this is all about, is respecting yourself and the choices that you make as well. Yeah, and we're one group of people here, and when everyone in this room leaves and they go talk to 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people, that's the best that we can do, is to excite people enough about their power, even in their political affiliations or decisions. That's the best that we can do. Rather than criticize the way that it is, empower ourselves to contribute to it being better. All right, everybody, take a break, and we'll reconvene in